Welcome, my friends of the interwebs. I just ran across the story on Drudge. Listen, I go to Drudge every day. The Drudge Report is really worth checking out, and if it's not something you do, please let me suggest that you do it. Unless you have blood pressure problems, because if you have blood pressure problems, you may not want to go to the Drudge Report because it just uncovers some stuff. Hey, listen, I run across this article. And it was called "Clerk Loses Job Over Stand." Well, I'm always interested, in why people, may lose their jobs. And usually when you see something like that, something messed up happened. So anyway, underneath the "Clerk Loses Job Over Stand," there's the words, "Won't take welfare card for cigarettes." Okay, now I'm kind of curious about this because, listen, I've never been on welfare. I've always, I have no clue how it works. I mean, I have somewhat of a clue just from things that I've gathered over the years from people. But for the most part, I'm like most Americans. We just pay for this stuff. We don't actually use it. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to read this article. I'm kind of curious about the situation. Well, it turns out, this is in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh. Turns out this woman, Jackie Witten, I believe it is. She's a 60-some-year-old employee of this place called Big Apple Convenience Store. Okay, it's in Pittsburgh. I've never heard of Big Apple, so it must be a regional thing. And anyway, she's been an employee there for 6 years. So one day, doing her job, she gets this guy comes up and he wants to buy a couple cigarettes. Well, he presents her with what's called an EBT card. See, back in the old days, you would have like food stamps, but now they've got like these cards. I guess they're like debit cards, and they're used to, I guess, just like debit cards. Well, this woman, being old school, did not believe, and maybe this was a training issue on the convenience store, but she did not believe that you could buy things like cigarettes or booze with these EBT cards. Because in the old days, you couldn't buy anything but food. And at some point, and I did not know this until I read this article, at some point, the federal government decided to start issuing two different cards. Two different electronic debit cards. One for food and one for what they refer to as cash assistance. And I suppose that means for things like, deodorant and getting your hair cut or something like that. I mean, that's my assumption. Which, if somebody needs assistance, okay, a helping hand, a hand up, once again, not a way of life, but if somebody finds themselves in a situation where they need assistance, I can understand it. You're going to need some food. You're going to need a little cash to be able to buy some incidentals. I mean, let's be honest, kind of hard to go to a job interview smelling, so a little deodorant would be nice, some razor blades, things like that. So anyway, this guy comes into the convenience store and he wants to buy some cigarettes with his EBT card. And, the old lady, well, I should call her the old lady. She's like, I think she's 65. I'm pretty sure that's what the article said. She says to the guy, look, I can't sell you cigarettes with this EBT card. Do you have any cash? And he's like, look, no, this work, you're supposed to sell me. I want to use this card. Well, to Jackie's credit, she says to the guy, she goes, do you think it's fair that I, and she pointed to, I guess, a guy behind him in line. Apparently by this point, after several minutes of arguing about this, the line started getting pretty big. But she goes, do you think it's fair that I and this gentleman over here and this lady over here pay for your cigarettes? And of course, his answer to that, being from an entitlement mentality, says yes. Now, let me qualify this by saying I smoked for 18 years. Okay, for 18 years of my life, I smoked. I no longer smoke, and I do have some friends that accuse me of being an anti-smoking Nazi. But this really has nothing to do with smoking, non-smoking. But I will tell you that I feel this guy's frustration only in the sense that I know what it's like to be out of cigarettes and need some cigarettes, and here he is at the convenience store and being told, hell no. So, it's not for nothing. It's not like I don't sympathize with the guy on that level. On the addiction level, because he's addicted to nicotine, and I was at one point in my life. I understand that. So he's not happy, and I guarantee you he was getting frustrated, and his voice was raising a little bit. Now, here's the whole moral of the story. It doesn't really have too much to do with what I just told you, other than if you read this article and you'll get to the point, they fire this woman. Okay, well, she was totally cool. She's like, you know what? She took a stand. She's, I'm not selling cigarettes, beer, wine to these people that are handing me these EBT cards. I'm not doing it. It's my tax money. I'm working here at the convenience store, you know, and I don't have these EBT cards. These people, and apparently I think this guy was kind of young, these people aren't working. They're basically sucking off my tax money. And so, no, I'm not paying for their beer, their wine, their cigarettes, and whatnot. And good for her, Jackie. I give you big props for that, because I feel the same way. You know, there are certain things that should be off limits if you're expecting the taxpayer to foot the bill. You know, I don't mind helping somebody feed themselves, and I don't mind even the incidentals that it takes to be presentable while you're looking for work, which there should be some mandates in that in the welfare scheme of things. But yeah, I definitely am not supportive of people being able to buy cigarettes and whatnot on my tax dollar. Okay, and I say my tax dollar even though this happened in Pittsburgh, because yeah, it comes out of my taxes. So what's interesting though is you you scroll down the story and you actually hear I'm not sure who it was, but some official from the store. From the organization that runs the store, I believe, the management company, and they clarified some things that said, hey, look, yeah, you know, with the one EBT card, you can not only use it for cigarettes, for wine, and for beer, but you can also use it for gambling. Okay. And I've wanted to do for a long time a video on this new wave of gambling, because where I live in Toledo, Ohio, my neighborhood is quickly becoming the ghetto. And it's sad. It's a sad thing to see, because I've lived in this neighborhood for the majority of my life. It's sad to see when you see, you know, I've visited this topic on previous videos about convenience stores / gas stations where they're selling crack pipes and whatnot. But one of the other things that's kind of sprouting like weeds in my neighborhood are these little gambling parlors, these little mini casinos, where they've got some kind. I've never stepped foot in one of them. I probably should, just for some research purposes. But my understanding, they're like electronic, video poker, I think. Things like that. And I think they have things like pull tabs and whatnot. You know, and when I drive by these places in my neighborhood, I notice that the cars that are parked out front of them are hoopties, and the people that are loitering around them look to be, and I hate to make judgment about this, but they look to be the dredges of society. So it's funny, because now after reading this story, because I always wondered, how do these people afford to go to these places? What are they doing gambling? And you know, you see these people. There's always a bunch of them out front smoking, because you know we've got a smoking ban here. You know, and I'm looking at these people. I'm like, where are they getting the money to gamble? You know, and I always wondered that until today when I read this article. Apparently, one of the EBT cards you can actually use for gambling. So as a taxpayer, I'm just blown away by this. How has this managed to fly under the radar for so long? And in the comment section, let me know. If you're a taxpayer, if you're a contributor, which I believe the majority, overwhelming majority of my subscribers are, if you're a contributor, aren't you a little pissed off about this? Because I am. You know, I am. To know that to your tax money, which you know these government programs are for the most part poorly ran. This is one of the reasons, by the way, not to jump completely off the subject, but this is really one of the reasons why I've never been for Obamacare, because the federal government is not capable of running anything. I mean, seriously. And anybody that's been in the military knows what kind of clusterfuck the United States government can be. You know, and especially if you've ever had the misfortune, as I have, to spend any kind of time in a military medical facility, because believe me, the medical care you get is shoddy at best. But that's nothing I even want to discuss. So anyway, back to the situation. You know, I just don't understand how this has happened, how we've allowed this to happen. You know, how is it that a program designed to give a helping hand to people has become so abused and so riddled with fraud, and to the point where where's the oversight, and who makes the rules? Who is there? Who in their right mind thinks that anybody on the government dole should be allowed to use their debit cards issued by the government, funded by taxpayers, for drinking and gambling and smoking. I mean, at what point don't we all just say fuck it and give up and go, you know what, sign up. Let me sign up for the Happy Pappy program. Uncle Sugar can take care of me too. I mean, who's the sucker here? Is it us? Is it the people that are paying into the system? Are we the suckers? Because it's sure starting to look that way. I mean, my God, what in the hell has happened? This is why I can't be a Democrat. This is why I can't be a liberal, because of this nonsense. And the sick thing about it is that there will be some slimy liberal who's going to try to defend this program. Oh, well, you know, just because they're poor doesn't mean that they shouldn't be able to have some of the vices in life. What you know, the little things that make life worth living. Seriously? Freaking liberal morons. I don't get, see, that's the thing. And listen, I know I'm brutal about it. I don't understand how liberals' brains are wired. I don't get it. I don't understand it at all on any level. You know, and I'm a compassionate person. I believe in helping people. I believe in giving somebody a helping hand. But what I don't believe in is I pay into the tax system and these people, like blood-sucking leeches, attached to it and spend their entire freaking lives, sucking off of it. That's what I don't understand. That's what I don't get. That's what I don't support. The government needs to clean this shit up. When you've got people walking into convenience stores and buying booze and cigarettes and on their way out, supposedly getting some lottery tickets on my tax dollar, something's got to give. Something's got to give. Times are tough. Listen, times are tough for me. You know, I'm starting to be in a situation where I've got to try to figure out what I'm going to do here, what I'm going to do there. You know, I've got to make some moves. But you know what? I'm not, you know, look, that's on me. That's my issue. That's my problem. It's not your problem. It's not the taxpayer's problem. It's my problem. You know, but while times are tough for all of us, including me, should I continue to support this nonsense, this fraud? This is what it is. It's a fraud against the taxpayer. And let me ask you a question. If there's any liberals that watch this, and I know that there are, okay, at what point after listening to this story do you think that the federal government is going to be capable of running our health care? Seriously. I just pray to God that those 9 people in those black robes do the right thing and shoot this whole thing out of the sky, because if our federal government takes over our health care, we are freaking screwed. Might as well smoke and drink, because it's over at that point. All right, that's all I got for you. I mean, this was never meant to be a 13-minute long video, but let me know in the comment section what you think. See ya.